Welcome to Ilagan Whiteboard Friday, where we look at complex legal and compliance issues in a simple to do way. This series is brought to you by Ilagan, your partner and provider of end-to-end business services.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Ilagan Whiteboard Friday. This is Vikas from the Ilagan team, and I have with me today Mr. Naeem Jaffer. He is the president and CEO of Bitzer Mobile and also a lecturer at the Haas School of Business at UC Berkeley. So today I want to talk about business plans. We all have heard about business plans, and we always heard that it's a great thing to do. You always have to do a business plan. But I want to ask you practically, what is your thought? What is your opinion about doing a business plan?
So business plan is not a document. Okay? Business plan is not a 30, 40 page document. Business plan is the clarity between your 2 years, which only comes from discussion, arguments, fights with your co-founders till you have clarity. When you have that clarity, then you might as well write it down so it will be documented. But it's the clarity in your head, and the financial model which you build is the business plan. So that's why you cannot use a template to write a business plan. You cannot write it alone. If you're writing it alone, it's not a business plan. It's a story which you made up.
So what is a business plan then?
Business plan is the clarity of the common sense. There are really 10 topics, which are: is there an unmet need? And why is it so unmet? Who has this need? Which is the market? What is your market? And then, is the market big enough? And then, if there's a big enough market, what alternatives market have? So alternatives really deal with comparative analysis. Who else is doing it? And then finally, what is your unique solution? And why is it so unique? What is the magic sauce? Have you some unique access to research, whatnot? So this is the first front end of the business plan. In the back end, you do similar things, such as, what is your go-to-market strategy? Which means, how will you find your first 10, 50 customers? What alliance is going to need? What price will you give the market? How will you approach the market? And then, what is your financial projections? And more important than financial projection is, what are your financial assumptions? And what is your business model? Business model really simply means, how much will you make on each transaction, gross profit?
Yeah.
What channel will you use to get your product from you to the customer? Internet, web, direct, distributors, what? And then finally about team and sort of a timeline. What have you done in the last 6 months? What do you plan to do in the next 18 months? So this common sense questions, these 8 plus team plus timeline and how much do you need? These 10 things becomes 10 chapters in a business plan. These are 10 paragraphs in your executive summary. These are the 10 slides in your investor deck. It's the same common sense 10 things which helps you understand your business.
So it actually looks like it's a good structure for people to kind of go through and think about their whole company and see what do they want to do about it.
Business plan is for you. A lot of people business plans no, it's for you. Who's going to sacrifice and give 3 years of their life? It's you. You have to be convinced. Does it make sense? This is to convince yourself. Does it make sense?
So no, but something like this, if you really want to do it right, can take a lot of time, because for each of these items that you mentioned, you have to go, for example, for an unmet need, you have to go to some customer survey. You may have to go talk to a lot of people. You may have to. So what stage, when you're just starting out as an entrepreneur, so a lot of people think that I need to have a business plan before I can even talk to anybody or think about.
Yeah.
So what stage do you start putting these thoughts together? Or
you see, as an entrepreneur, you're always thinking about the same 10 questions. So you're always writing a business plan in your head. You may not have written it down on a piece of paper, but you're computing it. You're thinking about, who will buy this? Why haven't they bought? How come nobody else makes it? So these are common sense questions you're formulating in your head. So it's not that you have to be written down a 30, 40 page document.
Yeah.
You have to have thought through this thing. Business plan exists here. And I have actually, in my 7 companies I've done, I only have written business plan maybe once. But I've always had an executive summary, which is a condensed version of business plan. always.
And that is like a one-page document?
1, 2, or 3, depending on some details. But yeah, it's like usually 1, 2, or 3 page.
So for Bitzer Mobile that you raised money recently,
2 pages.
2-pager, and that's it.
And then a 15-slide presentation.
But was it because you have a very good track record
No,
as an entrepreneur?
no.
Was it because of that? No.
So always, look, investors are dealing with, they meet maybe with 20, 30 people a week. The person who has most succinctly thought about all these things and can express them succinctly is the one which they memorize.
So can the gatekeepers of these VCs may ask that, hey, send me a business plan and then we'll go from there?
Yeah.
Is that one of the reasons you may have to have at least a document? Or
No, if they're asking for that question, send us a business plan, don't go to an ex-VC because they're not serious. What will happen is a VC partner typically gets approached about 1,000 times in a year.
okay.
From 1,000 times approached, they probably take a closer look at about 100 of them. And these 100 come from somebody they know, somebody they trust, maybe another CEO of a company they funded, another partner, some professor, some accountant. And from those 100 people they look at closely, they maybe do due diligence on 20 of them.
Yeah.
They may give term sheets to 4 or 5 and invest in 1 or 2 per year.
So
This is why odds are so limited. So that's why business plan is usually maybe requested later when they're already doing due diligence as a side item, as a checklist item.
now that means it also has to be a living document because these things will continuously change.
Yeah, absolutely. But remember, executive summary will be asked very early. But you haven't written the business plan or written meaning at least thought through it,
Yeah.
you can write the executive summary.
Okay. By the way, at Elagan, we are building a business plan tool that you can use, which will be a living document, can be online. And, I would recommend to look at that and see how you can build a business plan in a simpler way without spending a whole lot of time and keeping it as a living document.
Now you realize this totally contradicts with what I just said. So you have to pick which one you want because my
Yes.
point is,
Yes. Don't have a business plan.
yeah,
Or don't spend a whole lot of time.
no, that's not my point. My
Yes.
point is, business plan is not a document. You can't use a template. Business plan is a result of conversation, arguments, fights among founders.
Yes.
So you chisel away at the idea so it's clear.
Yeah.
Only then you can write it. You cannot, if solo person writing a business plan is not a business plan. It's a fictional novel.
And I think that's a valid point. What we are trying to provide as a tool, and it's a free tool, is that we provide a template so that we ask the questions so that we just get them thinking. And it's not necessary for everybody.
Yeah,
But
that's
at
quite.
least-
You're at least posing what question investor would be asking.
Exactly.
So they could at least have the arguments about those conversations. So they don't have random conversations.
That's right.
That's a good
So,
point.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Great. So take your pick if you want to do how detailed you want to do a business plan. But like you said, it's right here in your mind. And go ahead and build your executive summary. Focus on building your company. Thank you, and we'll see you again next week for another episode of Elagan Whiteboard Friday.